Jesse,
Hello.
how you doing, man?
I'm better now that I see that cool background. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. The
That's so
movie
cool.
more than deserves it, man. It's a
Thank
great
you.
job on the film. I actually just finished watching it a couple of hours ago.
Oh,
I
wow.
know our site reviewed it back at Sundance, and our reviewer
Sure.
loved it then. And yeah, I guess I want to start with, um, did you always? So I don't think you always planned on playing Dave in the film, right? Like you weren't. That was not your initial plan. You didn't cast yourself in your first movie, and you didn't plan on doing it for this one. What made you decide to
Yeah.
ultimately you wanted to play the role?
Well, yeah, yeah, thank you for asking that, and it's really nice to meet you. Yeah, with this, it was a pretty strange situation where I had written the script, and then I was trying to like basically find financing for it, which is what you do after you finish a script. You try to find, people who would produce it. And I knew that if there was like an actor's name attached to it, even if it was me and even if they didn't like me, the movie still feels like it's a little more real. You know what I mean? Like when you send a script out and say, actually, and I'm acting in it, suddenly the movie just feels a little more like it's already happening. And so that happened with this. It was basically like I thought, okay, fine, I'll play one of the roles. I wasn't intending to, but I thought, oh, I should play Kieran's role because that's the cool, showy role. And it's it's the role with the highest highs and lowest lows and everything. And it's what you train in drama school to do, characters like that. And then I was talking to our producer, who is Emma Stone, and she's not the investor; she's a producer. So we were looking for the investment together, and she said, "Don't play that character. If you're managing a set as a director, like managing lots and lots of people, you're not going to be able to play a character who's totally unhinged. Because Benji lives in this spontaneous, free world, and to direct a movie while playing that role would be difficult. And I'm so happy she suggested that because Kieran is it's the most incredible performance I've ever witnessed live. So I'm so thrilled I didn't play that part and that Kieran did.
It's funny that you say that because I can't imagine anybody else in these roles other than you as Dave and Kieran as Benji. And to think that you almost play the other end of it, that kind of blows my mind, honestly. I can't see that. I can't imagine it.
You know what? Like when you're acting, it would look a little differently, but the story would be the same. And I'm sure if Kieran played my role, the story would be a little, be shades different, but essentially the same story.
One of the things I loved about this movie is that it feels like you are reconnecting with your own heritage, your family, your history, as these characters are doing the same. Is that part of the reason that part of the uh, origin of the screenplay? Was that what you were thinking about as you were writing it?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, you hit upon it exactly. This movie was like basically me trying to explore my family's history, not just like their literal history of like where they lived and everything, but also like, kind of their psychology of why am I Jesse like the way I am? Why am I kind of a very lucky person who's also miserable? Like, why do I walk around the world kind of being anxious and miserable when my ancestors' life was so unbelievably awful? And I'm trying to kind of figure out why that is and try to reconcile what that means. And a lot of this movie is just me trying to explore that question of like, how am I so lucky and so miserable at the same time? And how am I so miserable when my family experienced such horrific trauma? And so that's kind of the question at the center of the movie. That's why the title is A Real Pain, because it's like, is my pain real? My anxiety, is it real when my family experienced such worse pain? Is Kieran's character's pain real when our grandparents experienced such trauma? And so and I think a lot of people in our generation probably have that feeling of like our ancestors had it much worse. Why are we depressed? That kind of feeling.
Yeah, it does feel like these characters are experiencing generations of trauma being passed down and not
Yeah,
really realizing that they're carrying it along with them.
that's
Uh,
it.
I, I think this is a fascinating subject. We've seen that topic before, but never quite in this kind of story. I thought that was
Oh,
great. One of the
thank you
other
so
things I
much.
really liked about what you did was introducing characters who are coming at Judaism from other cultures.
Yep.
I thought that was a brilliant addition to the story. Talk to me about the idea for that as well.
Yeah, so one of my good friends is a guy named Deloge. He's Rwandan. He survived the genocide at 10 years old, and he was sent to Canada, to Winnipeg. And when he arrived in Winnipeg, he was taken in by some Jewish people who were Holocaust survivors, and he felt like after suffering a genocide, living through a genocide, he felt that the only people he could connect to were people who had a similar experience. And so he really connected with these Holocaust survivors in Canada, and he converted to Judaism. And when I was writing this movie, I asked Eloge, "Would you mind if I created a character based on you?" Because I think what it would do is give the movie some perspective, um, show that the movie and the story is not just specific to my family history, but actually is about trauma, is about the way we all experience trauma, and that could be, trauma of the Holocaust or of the Rwandan genocide or what happened in Bosnia or any kind of war where people are necessarily traumatized. And Eloge not only helped me create the character, but he also helped me cast the actor. And he also, his wife was incredibly instrumental in the wardrobe of this movie. And Eloge, it's so funny because if you Google my friend's name, I think the first video that comes up is him going on a Holocaust tour and talking about the impact it had on him. So he was really tied into the themes of this movie and allowed me to give the movie a kind of bigger scope and speak to other cultures and races and identities and nationalities.
He didn't want to play the role himself.
No, he's definitely not an actor. He's a like brilliant guy who works in Canadian politics, and he like has a high level job where he's like thinking of policy, international policy. So no, that we would definitely not want to take him away from his important work.
Of course not. So what are some of the things that you've learned from your first film when you finished Saving the World to this? I think you've tackled, yeah, I think you have not made it easy on yourself with either film, honestly. Both films are very challenging in their own ways. What are some of the things you learned from from the first movie going into this one?
I learned some like practical technical things, like just get more coverage, which just means shoot more footage. My first movie, we were shooting on film, so we like literally had a cap because we weren't shooting on video, which is how most movies are filmed. We were shooting on film. We literally had like a cap of how much we could shoot, and we were shooting before vaccines, but during COVID, so we had a cap of how many hours we could work before they deemed it unsafe. And so with this movie, I wanted to like basically just shoot a lot of footage, which meant losing some of the budget to afford a second camera crew, which just means an extra camera and two camera assistants and an operator. So basically, it was just about which compromises to make, because all movies are a compromise. You're compromising 17,000 things a day because you have a small budget, in the case of my films, a small budget and a lot to accomplish. And so it kind of taught me what I want to emphasize and what I want to compromise on in a way that was really helpful. And who knows, my next movie, it takes place in the world of musical theater, and it's going to be a whole new kind of education to record people singing, and it'll be a whole new set of skills that I learn and probably pitfalls that I fall into as well.
Well, Jesse, this has been fantastic, man. Before we go, I want to ask, what are you hoping that people take away from The Real Pain when they go to see it?
It's funny, Travis, and I hope what people take away is exactly the thing you and I discussed, that no matter what their history is, no matter what their religion or race or nationality is, that they could find a way into relating to this experience of being curious about where your family is from, about being curious about like the horrors of your past and wondering how they affect you. And my favorite reactions to this movie have not just been from Jewish Americans or Jewish Polish Americans, but from people from all over the world who say, you know what, I'm going back to Ireland next year because your movie made me want to go back. Or I'm going back to Japan, South Korea, Rwanda. That this movie can touch people in that way would be my greatest hope for it.
Some of the feedback I know that we've heard from our readers who've seen it already has been that they've all been able to connect with it and relate to
Oh,
it in some way. It seems like you've told a very universal story here, man. So congratulations to you on that. Some
oh.
uh, great reviews for the film already. It's got big aspirations. I wish you the best of luck with it, man. Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
I love Punch Drunk Critics, by the way. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you saying that, man. And good luck with the film. I hope to talk to you again soon about your next this next movie you're talking about already. I hope to talk to you about that too, man.
You're so kind. It'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Have a good one. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.